Hello, surprise, it's me. Yes, this is my third hour on the trot. Don't get fed up though, don't disappear. This is, of course, the very final live hour of our Crochet Craftalong. Yeah, if you've been watching from the beginning, you don't want to miss this one. We've got new stitches included. Now already, it's been so successful. We've got another kit to go with. Have a look at this beautiful granny square bag. This could be what you're creating with me next time. Now you get all of the components you can see there, the yarn, you've got the metal hooks in there as well, you get full instructions, but of course the idea is you're going to craft along with me. If you've never tried crochet before, we've had some amazing feedback from this one, so you know you can do this, so please have a look at that now. That's available to buy now. It starts, the actual next Craftalong starts on the 5th of August. I believe, don't hold me to this, but I believe the crochet one starts on the 7th. Oh, no, this is the 5th. Must be the knitting on the 7th then. Yeah, another 3 weeks for you. You can find more on the website as well. So do have a look at the other options we've got. We've got another knitting one for you as well. Of course, we've got patchwork, we've got embroidery for you there as well. We've got the proggy, we've got the bag making kit for you as well. We've got Matthew Palmer coming back. Do you know, it doesn't get much better than that, does it? And we've got some other goodies available that you can purchase that are going to be helping you with those Craftalongs as well if you do want to buy those extras. So do have a look on that website. Okay, right, I would say I'll introduce you to the guests. I'm going to do that now. Kathryn, it's over to you. Good evening, everybody. Right, yes, it's just me here tonight. So, yeah, have you done your homework? That's what I'm going to say first of all. Yeah, have you done your homework? I did say if you could get to row 25. I do apologise for the state of my pattern. Before we go any further, can I just say, I hope the lady's watching. I'm not going to mention a name, simply because it wouldn't be fair without her knowing I was going to do this. A lovely lady sent me this thank you card. There's a lot of wording in there as well. It actually almost brought me to tears because it's a lady that has tried to crochet for such a long time and never managed to do it. And watching the Craftalong, she's cracked it. And that absolutely made my day. That's what it's all about. Right, let's have a look at the instructions then. As I say, I do apologise, mine have been folded up in my little bag. So, row 25, I did say if you're following along, please do just stop there. So, row number 16 to 25 was all the same. Work all treble stitches in each row. So that's what you will have been doing. I know lots of you, you know, the yarn that you're using will vary depending on what you were sent out. I'm actually using a cotton, it's some of my own yarn. So my bags, you know, it depends on the yarn you've got. If it's a chunky yarn, it'll probably hold up a little bit more. If it's a softer yarn, then it'll look a little bit more floppy. That doesn't matter. Now, if you have got any questions or you want to check up on anything, please do email in. It's email studio@thecraftstore.com, of course, and hopefully we can answer as many questions as possible. I'm just going to move that lovely little card out of the way for a second. Now, do you know, I'm going to use that as well in a minute when I get to my pink wool, because this is brilliant. I've ordered one of these for myself, you know. If you want one of those, in fact, let me just show you how that works very quickly. If I stick my yarn on there, when you pull the tail of the yarn, look, then, oh, let's just get it going. It spins round. Look at that. So it stops your yarn getting tangled up. It's brilliant. So it keeps the dogs off it as well. Right, okay, so row 25, if you're up to that point, I've actually done a few more rows with mine just because I had the spare yarn. But what we've got here now, I did ask you to stop there and I'll show you what to do before we change colour. So I've got my little stitch marker in there. I'm just going to take that out and put it to one side. So you've got hopefully you've got your remaining stitch on there. Now, because we've been working in a spiral, you've almost got a step. Okay. We're just going to finish that off. Now, we're just going to visit the website one more time, just a sec. I'll be back with you in 1 minute. Very busy on that. We just wanted to make sure you could see the details on there. Okay, right, so where that little step is, I'll just move the instructions for a second so you can see it against the table. We're going to sort of, rather than changing the colour and continuing there, because it would be a definite change in the height of it, what we're actually going to do is a slip stitch into the next stitch. Now, I'm trying to think, have we done a slip stitch so far in this project? I don't think we have, but it's very, very easy to do. So a slip stitch, you've got your stitch on your hook, you go into the stitch that's next. I'm just going to wrap the yarn around my hand as I normally do, pick up the yarn, just as though you're going to make that stitch, you're going to pull it through, and instead of wrapping the yarn again, you're just going to take it through both loops straight away. And that is your slip stitch. Now, I have just realised I didn't bring a pair of scissors, so hopefully, there we are, I've snapped it. I'm going to actually pull that piece of yarn through, and that has fastened that off, and it's kind of lost that step a little bit. So we don't have to worry about that anymore. So there are different ways that you can do this, but it is quite nice, you know, that you're not having such a step there. We're going to change colours now, because if we bring in the instructions, you can see rows 26 to 28 change to second yarn colour. Now it doesn't specify a colour because everybody's been sent different things. You're going to work double crochet, abbreviated to DC in your patterns. You're going to do double crochet stitches all the way around the row. So that's 26, 27 and 28. So that's 3 rows of double crochet. Now we've already done double crochet in the project. It started with that at the base of our bag. So the stitches here, you can see we're going that spiral there, increasing as we go, but they were all made with double crochet. So if you have been following along, and if you're anything like the lovely lady who sent me the card, I know that you've cracked that. Now I'm just going to move that yarn to my other side, because I'm going to crochet with the yarn coming from my right. So I'm going to join a stitch again. So, you know, I can just start where I finished off there. I'm going to go in with the hook. I'm just going to put the yarn back around my hand, and I'm going to start to work those double crochet stitches. So we'll pick up the yarn and we'll pull it through. So that's the yarn there that's ready to go onto my stitch. I'm actually just going to put the yarn round and pull that through, so it's almost, you know, just a lock-in stitch for me, and that will count. You can actually do another stitch, which is a chain, to bring that to 2 high if you want. If you find that, you know, if that's going to work for you, that's great. That can count as your first stitch. And then a double crochet, it's literally into the next stitch. Remember, each stitch, or if you've missed an episode or, you know, an installment or 2, that is your V that you can see at the top. We'll see if we can come in a little bit closer. So you can see there, you've got that V. So I've put the hook through the V there. I'm going to wrap the yarn around the hook, pull it through the stitch. So I've now got the 2 stitches on the hook, yarn around the hook, and through both stitches together. That is your double crochet, and you're going to do that, as I say, this is what you've been doing on the base, so you probably don't need me to sort of recap this for you, but this is what you're going to do to complete rows 26 right through to row 28. Now if I was to sit here for this craft along and just continue that for 3 rows, it would become a little bit boring because there's quite a few stitches to get around. So I'm going to sort of do a few, and then I'm going to change. I'm actually going to come back the other way, which you wouldn't do. You would continue going in a circle. You'd continue with that rotation, that spiral. But I want to move on a step because it's really important to get to the flower that's in this project today, being seen as it's the last show of the event for the crochet this time, because there's more new stitches. And if you've been looking ahead and you're new to this, you're probably thinking, oh, that looks a little bit scary, not sure about that, how do I do this, how do, you know, that doesn't make sense. It's very, very simple. Now I'm just going to do 1 or 2 more double crochet. If you are crocheting along and you've picked up that speed, you can keep going all the way around, or you can put your hook down and watch the next step. Record if you can, catch on rewind, but it's very, very simple. Now I'm just going to turn the bag around and work the other way. As I say, what would you would do? You would continue with that second colour yarn all the way around for 3 rows. Put your stitch marker in. The first one you can see where you started, obviously, because you've got a different colour. Then start to put your stitch marker in the way that I've shown you before. And then you just go in that spiral till you've worked those 3 rows. So I'm just going to turn my bag around and come back the other way just to show you for the purpose of the demonstration. So if we look at the next row, we'll pretend I'm up to row 28. We're on row 27 and it says 2 double crochet, 2 chain, miss 2 stitches, 2 double crochet, 2 chain, miss 2 stitches, repeat to the end of the row. So you can see the instructions that are there is actually already repeating, so you just constantly repeat those stitches. So that's what we're going to do now. Now what this will do is form the little eyelets where you're going to thread the drawstring. So you've got those little holes to thread that string through that you created. I believe it was right back at the beginning. I think it was the first thing we did, the chain stitch, to create the drawstring, which was very easy to do. So let's go back to row 27 again. We'll just have a look. So we've got, to begin with, 2 double crochets. Well, we know that, we've just been doing it. So that's simply a case of going into the stitch, yarn around, pull through, yarn around, pull through both stitches. That's your double crochet. It says to do 2 of those, so I need to go into the next stitch and do exactly the same. Then it's saying 2 chain. There we are, 2 chain. Row number 27. There we are. So now I've done the 2 double crochet, we're going to do 2 chain. Very simple. Yarned around the hook and just through that 1 stitch. That's 1 chain. Yarn around, pull through, that is now 2 chains. So you can see what's happened there. If I just put that there, you can see it's almost making a little line. I could keep going there and make the eyelets bigger if I wanted to, but for this particular project we only need small holes for the drawstring. So the next step is, we've just done the 2 chain. Now it says miss 2 stitches. So that's very easy to do. We'll count that in a second. The instruction after that, we're back to the 2 double crochets, the 2 chain and the miss 2 stitches again, and we're going to continue to repeat that. So I've just done the 2 chain. So we'll now count the 2 stitches we're going to miss. So we're missing that one there, that's 1. We're missing this one here, that's 2. But we're going into the next one, picking up the yarn. So we've got the 2 stitches on the hook, yarn around, and we're just doing a regular double crochet. So what you've got there is your little eyelet. And of course, if you're repeating the instructions, it's 2 double crochets. So if I just go back to this to show you, because you've gone with the 2 DC, 2 double crochets, 2 chain, miss 2 stitches, 2 double crochets, 2 chain, miss 2 stitches, and because you're repeating, you're back to that 2 double crochets again. So you are literally going to do the same thing all the way around, creating that chain link, missing those stitches. So count out the stitches that you need to miss, and then you go into the next stitch. And you're just going to repeat that all the way around, creating every single one of those eyelets. Now when you've done row 27, row 28, if I just bring that down, there we go. You can see it says double crochet in each stitch to the end. Work 2 double crochet in each chain loop formed in the previous row. So just for speed, because I've got so much to fit in, I'm just going to flip this round again. I've only got the 2 little eyelets there, but basically what you would do, I should have probably done another double crochet there just to make it easier, but it's fine. So when you get to your eyelet, your opening there, you're going to do 2 double crochets into that hole. So whereas normally you're working into the V of the stitch, you're actually going into the hole. So it's very easy, straight in there, yarn around the hook, pull it through, so you're back to those 2 stitches, yarn around, pull through, there's 1, in, yarn around, 2 stitches, yarn around, pull through. Now I've got 2 double crochets in the eyelet there. Then you continue to do your double crochets in your normal double crochet stitch as well. So wherever you've got those, you work into the stitch, the V of the stitch there again. So you only need to work into the hole where you've got those chain stitches. If I just stop there so I can show you, you can see straight away how you're now reforming that row that is going to complete those eyelets. I haven't actually got the original bag with me. I don't know where that is today. I don't know if anybody can find that. If not, don't worry about it if not. So we're now up to, we've just done row 28. If you look at 29 to 31, it's just double crochet. So you're just repeating those stitches. Now we're getting to another bit. This is the frill on the top. So 29 to 31, because it's just double crochet, I don't really need to keep showing you that because you've now got used to that stitch. You're going to follow those instructions. You're learning to read the pattern, so you're absolutely fine. Again, if I spend all of the hour completing every row, we'll not get in anything else. So I'm going to unpull this afterwards, but you've seen now how to create those eyelets. But I do want to show you how to continue and do the frill at the top. So I'm going to work onto row 32 next. Now, because I've got the eyelets there, I'm just going to take those out just so I can work on the stitches that I've already done, just to make it easier to see. So we'll pretend that I've done all those rows. I've got the eyelets there. I finished doing the double crochet. So I'm now on row 32. It's telling me I need a treble stitch. So abbreviated there, it's TR. Now you should also have got used to doing the treble stitches because they're the stitches that you form the side of the bag with. So it's exactly the same stitch, but I will go over it again. So for anybody who's missed out, perhaps this is the first time you're seeing it. So of course you always start with the one stitch there on the hook. Now with a treble, you wrap the yarn around the hook before you go into the stitch. A double, you go into the stitch first. Now that yarn is around there, so essentially we've already got 2 stitches on the hook. Now I'm going to go into the stitch. I'm going to wrap the yarn around again and pull it through, so I've now got 3 stitches on my hook there. You can see those. Then you go yarn around the hook again and you pull through 2 of those stitches. Just make sure I've not got all 3 there. Just give that a little bit of a helping hand. Let me just unpull that and do that again. So yarn around into the stitch, pull through, yarn around, so through 2 stitches. Why is it not wanting to go through? There we are. Leaving 2 stitches on the hook. We've still got 2 there. It's a little bit difficult to split the stitches so you can see them. So we've got 2 stitches there, yarn around and through the remaining 2. So it does say row 32, 1 treble and then 4 chain stitches. So I'm going to do the chain again, very easy. Yarn around, pull through, that's 1, yarn around, pull through, 2, yarn around, pull through, 3, yarn around, pull through. That's your 4 chain stitches. Then we've got the 2 missed stitches. So I'm just going to count those. I know we've had a question come in, so I'm going to try and answer that in a second. But if we miss again the 2 stitches, so 1, 2, we're going to go into the next stitch there, and it's telling me a treble again, so I need to make sure I've wrapped the yarn around the hook before I go into that stitch. So in with the treble, so yarn around. We've now got essentially the 3 stitches on my hook again. If you can see those there. Yarn around, pull through 2, yarn around, pull through 2. So we've formed what looks like quite a loose loop there, but we need that because there's going to be lots of stitches going into that loop. I'm just going to see before we do any more actually what the question is, so I can try and answer that. This is from Sandy. Right. This is a good point actually. Right, row 16 to 25 is where we finish for homework. Rows 26 to 28 tells you to work the double crochet. She spotted a little error on the numbers. Yeah, it's just the numbers. Ignore that. Just work the amount of lines appropriate to the numbers there. You can just pen those in, but the stitches themselves are completely correct. So because we've got to 28, that should actually be 29, 30, and then obviously work it out. When you work in a row like that, let's say the 29 to 31, you look at that, and this is how my head works. I look at that and I think, oh, that's 2 rows, 29 to 31, but it's not, because it's row 29, 30, 31, so that's 3 rows. So when you're correcting those numbers there, make sure that you work it out properly. But real well spotted, Sandy, well spotted. But the instructions are completely right, so don't worry about that. Okay, so we've just done one of the loops. I'm going to do one more and then we'll work to the next row. So we've done the 4 chain, we've missed the 2 stitches, we've done the treble, we're back to chain 4, missed 2 stitches again, and then a treble. You're going to repeat, so it's exactly the same. So we've just gone in with that treble, we're back to 4 chain, so yarn around through the stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to miss 2 stitches again, so we count those V's, or you can see the holes of the stitches. 1, 2. Being a treble, make sure you've wrapped your yarn around the hook first, into the stitch, yarn around, pull that through, so you've got 3 stitches on your hook, yarn around through 2, yarn around through 2, and you've formed another loop. You're going to work that all the way around your bag. Now I do know, and I've said this many times throughout the course, if you're slightly out with your stitches, if you've miscounted something, don't worry, because you're working in a spiral. You're working that, so you know it's not really going to show. You can get away with a lot with crochet. It's very, very forgiving. Obviously, when we're doing something like this and you're missing stitches, you want that as even as possible. But even with this, if you're slightly out with your stitch and you get to the end and you've got an odd number to miss, don't worry about it. Just continue. And when you've gone all the way around the outside of the bag and you get back to the beginning, just do a slip stitch to join those together in the same way that we close the stitch off when I finish with the first colour. We will be doing some more slip stitches today as well, which when I come to the flower I will show you that. Now obviously again I'm not going to go all the way around there, so I'm actually going to flip mine around so we can come back the other way and I can show you the next instruction. So let's just pretend, oh I've lost my needle there, I've unpulled that stitch. Let me just put that stitch back in. This is a good thing about crochet. If you lose anything, this type of crochet especially, you know, you're not doing something that's really complicated. You've just got that one stitch on your hook. If you do need to unpull something, it's very easy to unpull it and just put that one stitch back on your hook. So let me try and turn that round again without losing it this time. So glasses back on. Let's have a look. We've got, where are we up to? Well, it's not row 33, but it is on here. So we're on to the last row of the bag now. Now it says in each chain loop of the previous round work as follows. Well, obviously these are your chain loops that you've just formed. They're the chain loops. So we're going to work inside of these, and it tells you 2 double crochet, 2 treble, 2 double crochet, and then slip stitch into the treble of the previous round. Repeat to the end. So it's very easy to do. Again, don't read things and think that looks complicated. Just take it one step at a time, break it down, take the first instruction, the commas will separate the stitches, so 2 double crochet. So very easy. We've got that one stitch on the hook. We're going to go into the actual hole that we've got the loop there, pick up the yarn. So we've got 2 stitches, yarn around and pull through. That's your double crochet. So we need 2 of those. So the same thing again, exactly the same stitch. Then we look at the next instruction, 2 treble. Well, we know how to do treble. We've been working those. So this is where we yarn around the hook first, into the hole, yarn around the hook. So we've now got 3 stitches, yarn around through 2, and yarn around again and through 2. And because that's a treble, it's a taller stitch than your double, so you can see how that's elongated. So how many do we want? We want 2 of those. So I'll do another treble stitch, and then we want 2 more double crochet, so we're shrinking the stitches again. So we'll go in without wrapping first. So we just got the 2 stitches, yarn around, through, we do 2 of those, yarn around, pull through, and what you've formed there is a little shell, a little scallop. That's what you've got there. Now it does say slip stitch into the next stitch. So where you've got the treble in between the loops, you literally just go in with your hook. You don't want the yarn around first, just go into the stitch, pull through the yarn, and you just pull it straight through the next stitch. And what that does, it locks into position the shell that you've just done. But not only that, it makes sure that this edge here is nice and shallow, because if you didn't do a slip stitch and you went straight into another double, you'd almost get a straight line going across where the stitches meet. So this gives you that proper formation. You're going to repeat that method the whole way round, and that is going to finish your bag off. Just slip stitch into the end of it. You can sew in any loose ends, cut them off, just weave them into your stitching with a wool needle, and that is your bag complete. The only other thing you need to do, of course, is thread through the drawstring. If you want to make pom-poms for the end, you can do, or you can use the flower to decorate that we're going to create now. So what time have we got? Oh, we've got loads of time. This is good for time, actually. Yeah, this is good because we've got lots of new stitches to learn as well today. Now I have in preparation, I have actually prepared a full flower. This is actually bigger than the one that is on the instructions. You can make these flowers different sizes. Just going to cut off that yarn so I can just continue with that ball. You can change this. Now obviously when you're changing sizes of things, you're working to certain stitches and there's a pattern to it. So if you're forming petals or shells in the way that we've just done, then there's a certain amount of stitches. If you're missing stitches to count chains, you know, you can count those stitches up on your patterns. So if you ever want to change anything, just work out how many stitches form a shell or a petal in this case, and then you can work out with simple maths how many stitches to complete to make your whole flower. But what we're going to do, we're going to start again. I did start this last week, so you've got a head start, and I do know a lot of you managed to do this straight away and you're ready to go with the rest of the flower. It does tell you to make a foundation chain of 74 stitches. Now if I do 74, again we're going to be here all night, so I'm just going to make a slip knot. I'll just run through that very quickly again for anybody that missed it before. So I'm right-handed, I'm holding the yarn in my left hand, I've got the little tail end to the right. I'm just going to grip the loop between finger and thumb there. I'm going to take the tail end of the yarn, wrap it around the loop nice and loosely, and just thread that tail end through there. Just pull it through. There are other ways of doing slip knots. This is the way I find easiest for me. And then the top loop there, you can see that now just forms your slip knot. So you can put your hook on there, pull on the end, and that will tighten that stitch up. So that's how you start off. So the chain, if you've got your 74 stitches done and you're ready to go, great, because I did show you how to do that last week, and also I did show you how to make the bases to the petals. So I'm just going to do a random number of chain stitches very, very quickly, just for the purpose of the demonstration. Doesn't matter if it doesn't work out equally, because I'm not quite sure how many petals I'm going to do. Do you know, another tip for you here as well, if you're making these flowers and you're a little bit uncertain, you know, how to count the stitches, because we are going to miss some of the chains again. Make your chain, your foundation chain, this is your foundation chain, make it a little bit longer than it says, just by 1 or 2 stitches, so you've got a little bit of play on the end, because you can lose that when you stitch the flower together. It just plays safe. If you make the 74 and you miscount by a stitch, that nobody's going to notice, but you might run out of chain before you finish the formation. So I'll just do 1 or 2 more and then we'll get going. Now obviously, because I haven't got the 74 stitches here, I can't work the same amount of petals as it tells you, but we'll do each step. So we've done the foundation chain. Number 2 is 1 double crochet into second chain from hook. Well, obviously we've been doing the double crochet, it's easy. Now if we look at the stitch that's left on the hook, you can see the first chain from the hook. Let's just come in nice and close. There we are. So you've got the stitch on the hook, so the first chain from the hook is this one here. Now if I go directly into that, it makes it a little bit awkward, it's a little bit tight to get the hook in there, so usually you'll find the patterns give you an extra chain stitch and tell you to go into the second chain from the hook. That just gives you a little bit more room to play with. So it's a double crochet, so we're just going to do a regular double crochet stitch. So again, we're breaking this down and doing it 1 step at a time. 1 double crochet into second chain from hook, then we've got the 5 chain. So it's very similar to the frill on the bag, but we're doing 5 chain stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it says miss 3 chain and a double crochet in the next chain. So again, very similar to what we've just done. So this is where you need to count those stitches, and we miss 3, so not that one, not that one, not that one, we're missing 3. We're going into the 4th one and we're going to do a double crochet. Now I'm going to do this twice. You're going to actually repeat that process 10 times in total. That's not do it and then another 10 times, that's 10 times in total. So read the instructions and repeat those instructions 10 times in total. I'm just going to do a couple of these. Now I've gone in with a double crochet, I'm back to the 5 chain again. repeat 10 times. Actually, yeah, we've got another double crochet. Repeat that process. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain again. Miss those 3. 1, 2, 3, and we're back into the stitch there, being a double crochet. We don't wrap the yarn around first. So I'm just going to stay with 2 stitches there with those loops, because when you look through, once you've done that 10 times, it's then telling you to do just 4 chain stitches instead of 5. You're still missing 3 and you're still doing a double crochet, but you're only going to do that 8 times. So we're just going to do 4 chains now. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So you'll not notice much difference at this point. Just miss 3. 1, 2, 3 into the next hole there. There we are. I'll just do a couple of these as well. So another 4 chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, and again I'll just count 3 to miss. 1, 2, 3, and into the next stitch. Now we're going to move to the next row. So remember, you're going to complete that, if you've not already done it, the full length of the chain stitches that you've created. Now what you should end up with are 10 of the original with your 5 chain stitches in, and 8 with the 4 chain stitches. So that's 18 loops you want all together. As I say, if you end up with more or you end up with less, as long as it's fairly even, it doesn't matter. You can alter this, you can change the size of them. Now I am now going to flip round my work. Now you will do this because we're not creating something that's circular, we're not working in a spiral. You will get to the end of the row and then turn your work over. So I would continue normally working down that chain right to the end, then turn. Now obviously, because I've turned, the smaller loops are here. These are the ones with 4 chains in. So I've just got 2 of them. These are the 2 with the 5 chains because we've flipped that work over. But you're going to work back the other way now. So it's telling you what you need to do with this is row number 3 we're on now. You want 1 chain and 6 double crochets into the 4 chain space. Obviously, because we've flipped that work, you've got those 4 chain spaces first. Now the 1 chain is, again, it just gives you that little bit of room to maneuver. It gives you a little bit more working space with your hook. That's the only reason we do that. So just 1 chain stitch onto your hook, 6 double crochet into the 4 chain space. So very easy, we've been doing this all along. So 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochet. What you've actually got there is quite a shallow petal. That's going to be the center of your flower. If we follow on with the instructions here, you can see we've just done oh, it's 6 double crochet. Did I do 6 then, or did I do 4? 1, 2, 3, let me just check. 1, 2, 3. It has been a long day. I can't even count my own stitches now. Chain 1, 2, I did 4. So let's just go in. It's 6. I think I'd said 4, but it actually says 6. So let's just go in with a couple more. So just read the instructions. The instructions are correct. So you can see there, that's just filled that out a little bit more. So 1 chain, 6 double crochet in the chain space, slip stitch to the next double crochet. You've seen how to do a slip stitch, so you've got that double crochet stitch in between those loops, so it's just a case of going into that stitch, picking up the yarn, pull it through and pull it through the other stitch. You don't need to wrap that yarn around your hook anymore. That's locking that into position and also keeping this end of the petal at that low point. Now it tells you to repeat that twice, because you've got enough loops when you do the full flower to do that and continue on. I'm only going to do that once because you know your double crochet stitch and I've only got 4 loops to work with. So I'm going to move on to the next instruction, which says 6 half trebles, abbreviated to HTR. Now this is a new stitch that we've not so far done. You're going to do the 6 half trebles in the next 4 chain space. So there's petal 1, we've just done it. You're going to repeat that twice if you're doing it properly. This is how you do your half treble. A half treble in size falls in between a double crochet and a treble stitch. Now with a treble stitch, we wrap the yarn around the hook first. We're still going to do that. So your half treble, you do wrap around the hook. You're going to go into the loop. You're going to wrap the yarn around and pull it through. So you've got 3 stitches on your hook, which is exactly what you do for a normal treble. This is the point where it changes. Instead of yarn around and going through 2, and then yarn around and going through 2 again, what you're going to do is yarn around and go through all 3 stitches, all in one go. That is your half treble. Now it says do 6 of those, so we can repeat that another 5 times. So half treble is yarn around the hook, into the hole, into the loop, yarn around, pull through, so you've got 3 stitches, yarn around through all 3 stitches. And again, yarn around the hook, into the loop, yarn around, 3 stitches on your hook, yarn around through all 3 stitches. Now, if I am counting this time, I've got 3 stitches there. So now you've seen that, I'm going to complete that with another 3. All these stitches are exactly the same. These are all your half trebles. So I'll do the last one a little bit slower again, just to make sure you've got it. So you've got your stitch on the hook, yarn around, into the loop, yarn onto your hook, so you've got your 3 stitches, yarn around and through all 3 stitches. That has completed another petal, and it might not look a lot different, but it's a little bit taller than this one. You will see it more when you roll the flower, when you put this together. Now the next stitch would be again to slip stitch into the double crochet stitch of the previous row. So it's literally just go into the stitch, pick up the yarn and pull it through both at the same time. That's again locked that petal. If I just move that out of the way a little bit, that's locked that petal in position and we're ready to move on. Now if you're doing the full version, if you look at the instructions there, it tells you to repeat that 3 times. So you did the first instruction twice, this one you're going to do 3 times. Obviously again, I've only got 4 loops, so I'm going to move just to the next instruction so you can see the stitches there. Let's have a look at the instructions here. This is where it changes again. This is why I chose this project, because it's easy for a beginner, but you are learning quite a lot of different stitches here, but nothing is complicated. Just break it down one step at a time and you'll get it. So the next instruction, it says 1 half treble, which we just learned how to do, 4 treble and 1 half treble into the next 4 chain space, and you'll repeat that 3 times. I'm going to do it once, but because we've got more than 1 stitch, you'll see me do those stitches more than once. So let's break it down again. You want 1 half treble first. So the stitch before the comma, that's where we're starting. We've just done half trebles, so you've just done 6 of them a number of times if you're doing it properly, so you know what you're doing by now. It's that yarn around, into the loop, yarn around, 3 stitches on the hook, yarn around and through all 3, because that's your half treble. Now it's saying 4 trebles. We've done the trebles before as well, so this is easy. Yarn around, into the loop, yarn around, so you've got those 3 stitches, but this time it's yarn around and through 2, yarn around and through 2. So it's a slightly taller stitch than the half treble. A double crochet is the smaller one, half treble is slightly bigger, treble is bigger still. And it does tell me to do 4 of those. So I've just done 1, so let's go again. Yarn around through the loop, yarn around, 3 stitches, yarn around through 2, yarn around through 2. I've now got 2 trebles. Let's do it again because we need 4 of these. So I'll just work that again. We've got 3 trebles there, yarn around, into the loop, yarn, pick up there, 3 stitches, yarn around through 2, yarn around through the last 2. So I've now got 4 treble stitches. We've not finished yet though, because it tells me to go back to a half treble. We've done that. We're just repeating what we started with at this side, so you're getting that even petal. So obviously half treble, yarn around, into the loop, pick up the yarn, 3 stitches, yarn around, but all 3 you draw through. That has now completed another petal, and you can definitely see how these are getting bigger now. You can see the height of them is changing. You will want that slip stitch in your double crochet before you start the next one. So we'll just put the slip stitch in there. As I say in the instructions, when you're doing it fully, you're going to find that you repeat 3 times. 3 times that particular process there. Right, the next one, I've just realised I should have done an extra loop, so I'm going to have to add one on at some point. The next instruction, we're still working with stitches that we've used. In fact, I can skip this one out because we're still working with half trebles and a treble. Oh no, we're going to a double treble. I will have to show you this one. We've not done that one before, have we? A double treble. So abbreviated double treble is DTR. So I've given you the wording and the abbreviation there. So when you get patterns, you don't normally get that. You will normally just get the abbreviations. So let's go into the next loop, and then I'll form myself another loop to work in a second. So, because we've got one more instruction after this, which changes again. Now this is an interesting one. The double trebles aren't difficult. They're really not difficult. So let's go to the beginning, break it down again. 1 half treble first. So we've already been doing that, we know it. Yarn around into the loop, pick up the yarn, 3 on your hook, yarn around, draw it through all 3. So that is your half treble. Then tells you want a treble, just one of them. Well, we know that one as well. We've done it. Yarn around into the loop, pick up the yarn, but this time it's yarn around and through 2, yarn around and through 2. So it makes a slightly larger stitch. Now, are you ready for it? We're up to the double trebles. You need 3 of them as well. What is a double treble? Sounds a bit back to front, doesn't it, really, a double treble? Well, you know how to do a treble. You go yarn around your hook. Well, a double treble, it's so simple, you just wrap it round again. So you're wrapping round that yarn twice. So essentially, you've already got 3 stitches on that hook. You're going to go into the hole, into the loop there, pick up the yarn as you would do in a normal treble, but because you've wrapped round twice, you've now got 4 stitches on your hook. Yarn around, you're going to draw through 2, which leaves you 3 stitches. Yarn around, draw through 2 again, which leaves you 2 stitches. Yarn around, draw through the final 2. That gives you a much taller stitch again. You can see the pattern, can't you? Let's do that again because it tells you need 3 of these. So very easy, yarn around the hook, once, twice. It's a double treble. So the double part is the fact that you're wrapping that yarn twice. Into the loop, pick up the yarn, pull it through so you've got 4 stitches, yarn around through 2, down to 3 stitches, yarn around through 2, down to 2 stitches, yarn around through the final 2. How many did I say? We want 3 of those, so 1 more. So I love my little yarn spinner, you know. I don't know if we can see that. Look, just stop it getting tangled up. I really like that. I've ordered one of these. It hasn't arrived yet, so I'm borrowing this one today. Right, okay, so again, let's do that double treble, the final one. So wrap round once, wrap round twice, there's your double. Into the loop, pick up the yarn, 4 stitches on the hook, yarn around through 2, yarn around through 2 again, left with the 2 now, yarn around through the final 2. So we've now got 3 double treble stitches. Now it's telling you to go back to a treble and then a half treble. So you're kind of just reversing what you started with. So it gives you that formation again. So we'll do the treble, yarn around, pick up 3 stitches, yarn around through 2, yarn around through 2. That's your treble. And then we do the final half treble, yarn around the hook, into the loop, pick up the yarn around and through all 3 stitches together for the half treble. That will then provide us with another petal. And if I just lay this out so you can see, can you see how that's changing? Obviously you're repeating some of these processes more than once in a row. Just pay attention, it will tell you repeat 5 times, repeat 3 times, whatever it is. Make sure you work along your chain. You can see how easily you could actually adapt these sizes and change the size of your flowers from really small ones to medium to large. Now there's one more instruction. I've run out of chain, so I'm going to have to make myself another. Let's just cut that off at that end. So I've got one I made earlier as well. So if I just go to the other end of the chain, and I'll show you the next loop. So I just need to make myself a loop, which is very easy to do. I've got the right bit of yarn there. Got that many tail ends now. Let me just get my yarn around my hand. I'm just going to do a little bit of a locking stitch to reattach that yarn. Right, so to make the loop, of course, we would have had those stitches, those chain stitches. So, do you know, that will do. I can just do it straight into this miss. Was it miss 3 chains? So miss 2, miss 3, 1, 2, 3. I'll just make that loop there just to show you the final process, because we've got another new stitch here. Now, if that was if you're working the actual pattern, you would have 5 chain stitches by the time you get to this certain one. It's where you made those bigger loops. So let's have a look at the final row here. 1 treble, 1 double treble, 3 treble trebles, treble, 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 TR, TR. You've probably guessed this already. You can probably see how this is going to go. Let's start at the beginning. So it's 1 treble first. So obviously with the treble, yarn around into the loop, pick up the yarn, pull it through, 3 stitches, yarn around through 2, yarn around through the other 2. There's your treble. Double treble we've just learnt, so you know to wrap around once, twice. So we'll do that double treble first, back into the loop. You'll be a dab hand at this by the time you get to the end of this row. It really does come together quickly. So there's your double treble. Right, now we've got the treble trebles. Yeah, you have guessed it, haven't you? You know what's coming. So obviously with your treble, you wrap round once, double treble, you wrap round twice, treble treble, you're going to do it, 3 times. So 1, 2, 3 times. So we've already got 4 stitches on the hook there. Back into the loop, pick up the yarn as always, pull it through the loop. So we've now got 5 stitches on our hook. Just follow the process you would with any of the other treble stitches. Yarn around and go through 2 first. That will leave you with 4 stitches. Yarn around and go through 2 again. Leaves you with 3 stitches. Yarn around, go through 2 more. Leaves you with 2 stitches. Yarn around and pull through a final time. Look at the height of that stitch. It is much taller. So you are creating those petals each time, gradually getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Let's do that stitch again because we need a number of those obviously to complete this. In fact, you need, how many do we need? We need 3. So we've wrapped round once, twice, 3 times. So you've got 4 stitches into the loop, pick up the yarn, pulling it through. So you've now got 5 stitches, yarn around through 2, yarn around through 2, yarn around through 2, and yarn around through 2 again. So you've got your second treble treble. Let's do it one more time because we need 3 of them. So 1, 2, 3 times around the hook before we go into the loop. Pick up the stitch, yarn around through 2, yarn around through 2, yarn around through 2, and yarn around through 2 again. That is my third treble treble. You can slide these stitches. You can see how you can just move them along the chain as well. If you need to neaten it up a little bit, you can just slide it onto the chain loop. We haven't quite finished because we're then going to go in reverse to complete the side. So it's kind of the treble trebles are the center point of your petal. So we're going to repeat what we've already done but in reverse. So we're coming back the other way. So it's back to the double treble next. So yarn around twice because it's the double in, pick that yarn up, you've got 4 stitches, yarn around through 2, yarn around through 2, and yarn around through the final 2. And then of course you've got 1 more treble to do, which you've so much practice with this one now. Yarn around once into the loop, pull it through, 3 stitches, yarn around through 2, yarn around through 2. That will form your final sized petal. Obviously, as I say, yours is going to be all on 1 long chain, so you can see the difference. If I just bring this one back in, I think Right, it would go that way, but I've got one that I completed earlier, so you can see. I'll get that one out so you can see that a little bit more closely. I did actually put 1 or 2 more stitches on this one, so there's more than 18 loops. So if I just spread this out, don't worry if your work is curling a little bit, and in fact, when it comes to the flower, it actually helps because it gives you the shape of the petals. So we've got the trebles at one end, going all the way down to where we started, right to where the very beginning, where it was just those doubles into the loop. That is going to be the centre of your flower. Now there's a couple of things you can do here. You can, when you make your slip knot, leave a really long chain, tail end if you want to, so you don't have to attach another piece of thread. Mine's not very long, so I would end up stitching, you know, with a new piece of thread. But that's a little tip actually, when you're sewing things together, leave a long tail end. You'll get used to knowing how much thread you need. Now to create this, it's a little bit like if you're quilling or using dies to create flowers, you almost just wrap this around, you just sort of spiral it. Now what you do want to watch out for is you don't want the petals all falling in line. Look at a flower, so where you've got a scallop, you want more of a gap on the next row. What I would suggest, and I haven't got time to show this completely, but thread your needle up, and as you wrap around, catch those bottom stitches. If I just open that out again, so your foundation chain, if you stitch through that as you go along and just secure things in place. So you don't have to roll the whole thing and then stitch it. Start to roll. You can decide if you want it really tightly wound in the centre or a little bit looser, but just watch out for those stitches so that you're not lining the petals up, so that you're alternating them. I'm just going to spin this around on the table a little bit, so I'll try and get those so they are. I can see that the top height of the petal is falling where the gap would be. I'm still working on those smaller stitches at the moment, so as I get more towards the other end, you'll start to see the height changing. You can really see that coming together now actually. This is going to be quite difficult for me to pick up and tilt because it's not stitched. You can have a practice rolling this before you stitch actually. Yeah, on the overhead you can see it, but I will see if we can sort of show you from the side to an extent as well. So that is quite loosely wound, but obviously when it's stitched in place, those petals are going to stay exactly where they are. You don't need to do anything to that. I like the fact that the petals are curling a little bit because it gives them more shape. If I just pick that up a little bit, you can see it from the top again. From the bottom, there you are. Just catching through those chain stitches, stitching through. Nobody's going to see that. You could put a little brooch pin on there. You can attach it to your bag. For anybody who's part of my group, I did say I was going to wear a cardigan I'd made tonight. I'd forgotten. What a busy day. What a busy day I'd had today. So I didn't have a chance to get changed, but actually I'm going to attach one of my flowers to the cardigan I've made as well. So you'll be able to see this used in a different way, perhaps in another show. I know so many of you have, it's been absolutely amazing, the feedback. Lots of you, if I can just plug my group a little bit, because Sugar Buttons, if you don't know what Sugar Buttons is, it's kind of my whimsical side of creations. It doesn't have to be crochet, but there is a crochet group. There are lots of pictures. People have been following along the Craftalong and posting their pictures on there. I am absolutely delighted to say we have got people that have never crocheted before who have picked it up, and this is the whole point of this. We know there's people bought the kits that already know how to crochet or that are a little bit rusty. It doesn't matter. We want you to enjoy this, but really, if you've never had a go before and it's something you want to try, this is your opportunity to craft along. We've got so much more to come. We've got that new kit. Let's have a look at the website again, because you can see that new kit there. You can see the crochet kit. I believe the colours you're going to get are the ones that are showing there. You've got a metal hook in this kit as well. You've got a lot of yarn in this one, so that's a really generous price. We've got the knitting kit, we've got embroidery, we've got bag making there for you as well, we've got proggy. And we've got, of course, Matthew Palmer's watercolour, which has been incredible. Every one of the Craftalong shows has been very successful. We've had such a lot of feedback from these. Interaction, people posting pictures saying they want to see more, they've learnt so much. So it is something that hopefully we can continue. Let's have another look at the next kit. This one starts from the 5th of August. It's another three-day course, so it's over 3 weeks, but it's only one night per week. So starts on the 5th of August, so 5th, the 12th, and then the 19th. It always falls on the same day of the week. You'll crochet along again. You will be set a little bit of homework. Now, this one, if you're looking at it and thinking, oh, that looks a bit scary, is it difficult? No. It's a different process. If you didn't do the one that we've just completed, you can still start with this one. If you've just finished the one, or you're finishing off the one that we've just done, you're definitely going to be able to do this one. There is a different method of working. You can see you've got squares instead of working in a spiral. Also how to crochet together the squares as well, because, you know, and also if we look at the strap, you've got the changing colours again, you've got the stitches there, so this is going to teach you again various different stitches and methods, and you've got a nice little bag that you can keep all your yarn or something in as well, which is wonderful. Now, only £8. Look at the amount of yarn you get in there, and a quality tool as well. 575708 is the item number. Do send in your pictures when you finish your bags. I know some of you have gone ahead and you've managed to finish. I do know that because you've been sharing already with me. Do have a look at my Get Hooked on Sugar Buttons Facebook page as well. If you've got any questions after the event, you can get in touch with me there or through my Craft Store TV page as well. You can do it that way, or through my personal page. I want to help out, so if you are stuck, please do let me know. I do hope as well you are going to join me for the next one. Looking forward to that. This is what we're going to make, as I say. Start ordering those kits. I know lots of you have ordered again tonight. Make sure you've got it ready. I'm not quite sure of the dispatch date. I'm going to say this now live on air because it's not me sending these out. I know that Hayley doesn't like to send things too quickly so you don't misplace them before the Craftalong. So if you've already ordered and you haven't got it yet, you will get it. Get yours ordered now though, so you're in preparation. Joe, where did that hour go? I've no idea. It flew past. Thank you for joining me. See you soon.